Hey. Welcome back to page 3. I'm Ellie.
And I'm Sydney.
And you know what? I don't know if it's like the law of tongue or something of that nature, but you know what? Life just keeps throwing us punches, but we're here. And so
the more we say we're going to be consistent, the more curveballs we get that inhibit us from being consistent. It's really unbelievable. Like, it's truly unfathomable the week that we've had. I wish that it was speakable about on the internet, and it's just not. But goddamn. Truly.
It's just really, it's crazy. Like, it was just punch after punch this weekend.
They say bad things come in threes, and we're on like 6. So I don't know how many cycles of this we're going to go through, but damn.
So we kind of just collectively decided that we would just come back to the one thing. I was going to say the one thing that never disappoints me, but our last book of the month proved that to be not true. The one thing that always helps us find our way back to ourselves, which is books. So we thought with back to school season happening, this is the first time that me and you are not going to school for the first time ever. At the end of August, we're not going back to school.
Yeah.
So we thought we would give some book recommendations that we think should be required reading and just talk about the power of literacy, because clearly there's a literacy crisis happening in our country.
I could do a whole episode on the literary crisis. I don't know if you guys have seen the TikToks of people making their boyfriends read words and things like that. However, if I was a teacher, and my mom was a teacher, if I was a teacher, we each picked 3 books that would be required reading in our classroom that we think every single person can glean something from. I will say the required reading that we had in high school, I still talk about and I loved. I actually had no qualms with it, but sometimes I think there's room for growth. And obviously, the required reading like Great Gatsby, anything by George Orwell, like anything like that serves its purpose absolutely and is a must-read inherently. Let's just assume that those are all included in this list. But we want to bring something new. Dated's the wrong word because those books aren't dated. They are actually like significantly important in this day and age.
Yeah.
But new ideas are always good also.
Completely.
Yeah. So we each have 3.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I'll do my first one. My first one is one that we read for Book of the Month, and it's The Correspondent. And I picked that because of the literary crisis, or the literacy crisis conversation. I mean, literary and literacy. I think it's both these days. But I picked that because a huge moral of the story in this book is how much writing and the power of language is so significant in social development and just connection and communication. And in a digital age that we live in, we have lost the art of communication because it is so easy to fire off a text. It is so easy to lack intention behind words. And the narrator writes in letters exclusively, pretty much. And so there is so much intention and detail that goes into every single letter she sends because you don't want to have any spelling errors and you're really thinking through the sentences before they hit a piece of paper. And I just think beyond the other topics covered in the book, the impact and power of writing and intention behind communication is something that we as a society have literally lost entirely. Like, I don't know beyond like a couple of thank you cards here and there the last time somebody wrote me a letter of any kind. And I just feel like we've totally lost the point of communication because it's so easy to just mindlessly communicate for the sake of communicating and not having the intention of like, why am I saying this thing? What is the message I want to get behind this? It's just so easy to repost a TikTok or fire off a text and whatever. This should be required reading, especially in like an AP Lit Lang class where finding multiple purposes behind a book is intentional and important. That's my pick.
I agree with you completely. I think that The Correspondent is such a great way of also just speaking to the power of human connection, which I feel like everybody just needs more and more. And I loved that book. I mean, we talked about it so extensively on this podcast. I loved this book. I thought it was amazing of just teaching you the power of language and writing, and yeah, it was such an amazing thing. And also I think it's a great self-reflection at the end of your life.
That's what I was going to say. It's watching the narrator self-reflect. I think having that perspective as a teenager going through high school or even just like early college, early adulthood could be very, okay, everybody say hi to Boston, he's joining. But I just think having that perspective of somebody who's reflecting on the end of their life could be really impactful. A lot of books that were required reading when we were in high school are about adolescents going through the same things that you're going through or going through different situations where they can learn from things that you could be going through, etc. And I think it's one thing when your parents or your guardians or your teachers tell you, oh, when you look back and when you're our age, you'll whatever. But reading it from like a non-biased character who doesn't actually exist in your life, I think can be more impactful in that way.
Completely, because it feels like they have less
they have less stake in it for you.
And you've also you haven't heard them speak about it in a way. So sometimes it can just come across better just purely because the speaker is a different person.
Yes.
My book for my class, and in like an ideal world where I was a teacher, which I think I actually kind of would love being a teacher, I would teach at an all-girls school and I would teach writing. And so in this idyllic classroom that I've created in my mind, I would have all of my girls read The Grace Year, which is a book about, it's like set in dystopian future. I'll put the cover on the screen right here. It's a set in dystopian like world. I don't know if it could be future, it's kind of arbitrary. And all of the girls, when they turn 16, go away for a year. In this society, they go away for 1 year. And nobody speaks about it when they come back. Nobody says anything, but every single girl that comes back is haunted. And it's about this girl that then goes to her grace year, you get engaged before all the women get engaged before they go, come back. And then like, it's like a male ruled society. And that whole experience and reading about that, I wish I read this when I was a teenager. One of my really great friends, Kate, she recommended to me. And it's so powerful about the power of female relationships, the power of sisterhood, the power of girlhood, the power of the patriarchy and how to overcome it. It just teaches you so much about what it means to be a woman in a very raw way. And without spoiling the book, I think that when you realize what's happening at this place called the Grace Year and you realize what they do to combat that, you're faced with this really beautiful reality that I feel like all women are kind of facing in life. And I think on top of that, when they come back from the Grace Year and the way that they communicate with each other so resonates with the way that I think that a lot of women these days communicate with each other in a safe way. And I feel like it just taught me so much about being a woman and was such a great, very literal depiction of what it means to be a girl in this society. And it was just so amazing. I feel like every girl should read that book, not in a bleak way, not in I'm trying to tell you how horrible it's going to be way, more in there will be obstacles, unfortunately, but still rely on the girls that are with you. And I think it would just be really beautiful for teenage girls to read that in such a formative year. And I think that would help them.
Especially when I feel like in high school, all of a sudden, all girls turn against each other. Yeah. Like you all go through this extraordinarily emotionally charged year or so in which everybody is your enemy and you don't even know why, that it could be like a really good pulse check of like, you need the people, like you need these people in some way at this time.
I would love to be able to have conversations with teenage girls about what they realize, like chapter by chapter, and really parse through it in a way that's genuine and also just self-reflective. I think it would just be such a powerful book to read, especially if you're going into high school and you're facing that. But I also wish that I could make everybody read it, because I feel like it's not something that you should just read on your own. I feel like it's something that you hope everyone in your same age group is kind of coming to realizations about at the same time, because I think it can kind of feel isolating if you've read this book and you're like, whoa, guys, wait, oh my God, wait, this is what we need to do. And then not everybody's on that same page. It can feel more isolating than the book intends. And I think it just teaches about community. So I think it's important to read it in a community.
Okay. I've never read it, so
it's really good.
It's my sign. Okay. So my next book in my required reading, and I don't know if this is now required reading. It very well might be, because it's a very recent release.
Yes.
And the counterpart to this book has been required reading in schools for as long as it's existed. I had to read the counterpart to this book. My sister did. Both my parents did. But this was a new release. It was not required reading for me at any point in time until I was in college. But it wasn't required reading for my entire university. It was only required reading for one class I was in. And it's James by Percival Everett, which is the counterpart to Huckleberry Finn. And it is Huckleberry Finn told from the perspective of Jim, who is the slave character in the initial story. And in the original story of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, you don't hear a lot from Jim, because he's this representative character of that time period, and also very representative of Huckleberry's innocence and like lack of understanding of the really harrowing reality of what the world looked like at that time, and like the indecencies of human nature and the cruelty of people, and like his naivety to that because of his childhood and his whatever. Anyway, I could talk a lot about Huckleberry Finn, but that's not the point. Essentially, Huckleberry Finn was required reading for a very long time, and it still is. I think if Huckleberry Finn remains required reading, James has to be read with it, because I'll read you my review. This book is one of the most incredible books I've ever read in my life. It makes perfect sense why it's received as many awards as it has. It's so life-changing genuinely, and it's so thought-provoking and imaginative, and in an incredible way to hear the story from Jim's perspective. It's something I'll think about for the rest of my life, that I hope that everybody takes the time to read it, because it is written, Jim is the narrator, right? And you learn in the original book in Huckleberry Finn that Jim speaks in a very specific way, and it's very representative of his perceived lack of intelligence and his inability to speak in what would be considered a quote-unquote acceptable manner at the time. Mm-hmm. And you learn through this book that it was actually a facade he was putting on, and he's extremely intelligent, but he purposely dumbed himself down to keep him and his family safe, because at the time, if you were a slave and you had such perceived intelligence, you were a threat. Mm-hmm. And you could kind of dismantle this system that was basically based on this, on this idea that you could be controlled.
Yeah.
And by becoming intelligent, you prove that you cannot be controlled in that way. And so in the book, as he narrates, he switches from this dialect when he's talking to certain people in this manner of language to when he's just narrating and writing in his journal. You get his full thoughts in very coherent language.
First person.
It switches. It's messy's the wrong word, but it's very much a very intelligent way of doing a stream of consciousness. Mm-hmm. Almost. And basically the way you learn about him is through his relationship with Huckleberry Finn, and you learn what his perception of watching him grow up was like. And the way you find out that he's intelligent is he's talking to Huckleberry Finn and he has a language slip up, and Huck turns around and he's like, "You said that smartly." And he's like, No. And you just watch two people really grow to trust each other. And I think a large problem with required reading in general, and just textbook reading, anything that takes place in a classroom, a very large part of it is that, especially in the US, when you are being taught something, you are only being taught it from the US's perspective. And so obviously our country, is what I can assume any other country would also feel this way, is that you want to paint yourself to your citizens as you are built on a history of making the right choices, right? You don't want to admit so much fault. And so a lot of the literature we read tells you the facts of where we messed up, but then really highlights how we overcame our mistakes and how we fixed our problems, and how we remained number one, right? And so I think in that same nature, if there's an opportunity to have two perspectives on the same truth in the same story, that's really how you get the full picture. Because if you're only reading it from one side, you don't get the full picture. And I completely reevaluated my thoughts on Huckleberry Finn when I read this book, completely. And so I just think if Huckleberry Finn is going to remain a story, which it will be, it's in the same genre as To Kill a Mockingbird. It's something that when you are studying that time period in middle school and elementary school, you are required to read a book from the perspective of somebody who lived during that time period. This needs to be part of it.
Yeah.
You should have to hear both perspectives. I have so much more of a well-rounded understanding of the nature of their relationship. And I don't remember if the crazy curveball that happens in this book also happens in Huckleberry Finn, but damn, I was shocked.
I really wanted to, when Syd first told me about having to read James for school, I really wanted to make it a book that we read for the podcast, because I think there's so much density to it, and I think there's so much relevance to it, and I think there's so much to learn from that book. Obviously, we'll choose something else that tackles some of the same kind of concepts. I have a couple in mind for, especially for Black History Month. I think that there's so much to be said about learning to do both perspectives and both sides of things. I took a class in college, which was all about how capitalism and racism are intertwined, and that the two of them cannot exist without each other. And it was the most amazing class I've ever taken in my life, because it forced you to look at the perspective of both sides, which I think is a incredible quality that books teach you to do naturally. But this is the most applicable version of it for your own health as a U.S. citizen, and to be the best contributing person to U.S. society.
Completely agree.
Mine is kind of similar. Not really. Mine is by, I would say, an iconic author in the same way, which is Beloved by Toni Morrison.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if this is required reading. I think it's required reading pretty baseline across in college. I don't know if it
wasn't for me.
In college?
No.
Interesting. Okay, so
I was a communications major, so I read all the required reading there is to read.
So I think that this book, there are two very distinct sides of me that approach this book. One side of me is obviously the writer. This book could teach you anything you need to know about writing ever. If you want to know about how to deal with positive time, if you want to know about how to write a sex scene, if you want to know how to write about loss, if you want to know how to write about racism, if you want to know how to write about misogyny, if you want to write about motherhood, anything, any complex idea, you can look to Beloved to teach you how to write about those things. and to teach you how to so skillfully depict just, oh my God, it's just so good. Okay, there's that side of me. And then there's the second side of me that just thinks that Toni Morrison in general is such an fantastic, talented, incredible author. And I think her work needs to be read on so many different levels. I feel very similar about The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison.
This is the first time I realized that Toni Morrison is a woman.
Yes. Toni Morrison also wrote The Bluest Eye, which is another one of my favorite books that I love. And I would interchangeably switch them out as required reading because I think it just, until you read Toni Morrison, you don't get it. She is so fantastic and so great at writing and so skilled. And I think this book just causes a lot of, and there's so much to take from. And I think the big part of required reading and something that I kind of wish happened more in my books is I feel like a lot of the books that we read were so plot heavy. And a lot of the things that you talk about were plot. And instead, I think that the books that Toni Morrison does and the characters that she creates allows a lot of discussion about like character and thoughts and processes. And I just wish that people would slow down a lot with books and be like, read chapter by chapter and seriously parse through all of these things and really think about all of these different depictions of what it's like to be a human being, what it's like to be a woman, what it's like to be a Black woman in America. It's so amazing and incredible. And I think anything by Toni Morrison should be on a list, but I think Beloved, just if we're also speaking to the literary crisis, like she could solve it all. But then beyond that, I think just reading this book is just it's healthy. I think there's a lot of health that we need to do.
Yeah.
Like healthy reads that teach you more about what it's like to be an American citizen, and especially with the history that you learn when you're going through high school, middle school, whatever. I think it's so important to read Toni Morrison. I think it's so important to read James.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I also have not read Beloved.
So good.
So I'm adding it to my list.
You would really like it.
I think I would like it. I also just right now in this time period of the world, like not even just personally, just in general, I feel like reading books that teach you not just like moral lessons or life lessons, but like teach you how to operate intellectually in the world serves such a big purpose because we just lack so much of that. And every year, I swear, youth education, like to no fault of the teachers, genuinely to no fault of the teachers, but just to the fault of like technology and new age parenting and all of these things is just becoming it's becoming harder and harder to be a parent, which inherently is making it harder and harder to be a teacher because technology is getting easier and easier to use at a younger age.
Yeah.
So I just think anything that helps you operate intellectually in the world and form your own thoughts and opinions is valuable right now. My third and final book, which I've talked about on this podcast before, and it goes down in history, is one of my favorite books I've ever read, ever. It's Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate. And it's a book about these siblings that it's based on a true story. Let me start there. About a real life crisis in the world that happened in which this woman, Georgia Tann, was essentially kidnapping kids that were in low income areas that she just deemed were in unfit households, even if they loved their parents, even if they were happy with their life, even if they, whatever. She was essentially going to these homes or to these kids and being like, oh, your parents left you here. We're sorry they're not home. They told us to come take you. And then not only putting them up for adoption, but putting them through sex trafficking, child trafficking, basically selling them off to bidders, essentially. And it was a real thing. Like she ran an orphanage in which these children endured like the horrors of humanity. And so in order to tell that story, Lisa Wingate created imaginary characters that go through this to represent that. And it's these siblings. And at the same time, you are witnessing past history of them going through this. The other half of the book, the second perspective, is present day, a woman who comes from family money, uncovering parts of her past, and these two lines intersect at some point. And two reasons I think this is important. One, I love any book that combines true story, history, and present day. This being a true story, I just feel like the fact that I didn't even know this thing happened in the world until I read this book is absurd to me. Like that, why did I not know about that? Why at the age that these girls was I not being told by a teacher the warnings of the cruelness of adults that you think you can trust?
Yeah.
That is such a developmental age that these girls were in the book.
Wait, I'm going to pause you really quick. I think another aspect of that, and I think maybe the reason that doesn't happen, And I think as I get older and I am the age of the teachers that I used to have, sometimes I think and I feel so horrible for them because I can't imagine what atrocities have to happen to you to be cruel to a child. And I think some of the teachers that I had when I was growing up were so horrible that like when I get the age of them, I'm like, wow, why wouldn't you like just being angry at people in their life that they just did a disservice to you?
Yes. I also just think like when you're at a developmental age in which you are learning to trust adults and learning how to determine if you trust adults and things like that, A, that lesson for this is important. B, this is such a good take on media literacy. Because being able to determine what is real news, fake news, who's lying to you, whatnot, I had to take an entire 3-course sector of college just on media literacy. How to read an article and know who it's biased from, who it's biased by, what keywords stick out to you. Do you know this photo is real or fake? Do you know that this story is true or not? And this book reflects on like how these atrocities were being portrayed in the media as like this woman doing the unthinkable in such a positive way. Like she's saving all these kids just because she can. And I just think it's such a good tale in media literacy. Like so many people just like believed this woman blatantly because they just assumed like, oh, well, if children are less off than my children and they're being put in homes that are better off, that just must be the best option. Like there's no need to investigate such a thing.
Dang. And the inability for people to think 3 steps forward.
Yeah. So I'm just like, it's a great tale in media literacy. It is a great tale for understanding the effect that history has on you, even if you don't know it. Like the present day character in this story, when it flips perspectives, has a life in which she is set up to not really worry about others or the past or history or whatever. And when you are forced to confront ways in which, whether it is related to you or not, history affects your current life, you are forced with the realities to understand the current one you live in. Because there are aspects of history that repeat itself. It always repeats itself. There are aspects of history that influence the way you function on a daily basis. What you pay for groceries is determined by history. Like it is as simple as that. And so I think the other main character being forced to reflect on history and that her life is not this perfect little bubble that she thought it was, and that like there's a world that exists beyond her own. I think especially in the town that we were getting our education in, where we did live in a bubble and we were surrounded by others that grew up in a bubble. It would have been really good to be like, oh, wait, like outside of my bubble, I am still being influenced by these things. I'm just not being forced to look at them. Yeah. And I think especially if you grow up in an affluent area or with a very like stable education, it's really easy to turn a blind eye to a life that might be harder than yours. And this book like just does not allow you to do that at all. And lastly, I think it's always easy. The grass is always greener on the other side. It's always easy to make assumptions and judgments about people. And you see these siblings that are going through this foster care orphanage system be faced with such harsh judgment and such misunderstanding. And I think the third big takeaway that I have from this is that it really, it does not allow for any interpretation other than do not be a fucking asshole. Like that is really like, do not be an asshole. You never know what somebody else is going through. You can't possibly know what something else is going through. Like these 3 siblings were in separate rooms in the orphanage and they couldn't even empathize with each other because they just didn't know what the other person was going through because their realities in the same house were different.
Yeah.
And I just think that's really important, especially at an age where any time between like 10 years old and 16, people are just really horrible.
They are really horrible.
So yeah, those are my 3 required readings. What's your last one?
My last one is Six of Crows by Leah Bardugo. And I think this one I'm approaching, it's kind of similar to yours in the sense of like, you never know what somebody's going through and you never know the background that they're coming from because all of these 5 characters are coming from significantly different backgrounds. And I like to think of it's almost like they're coming from different countries, but it's a fantastical world. And sometimes I think it's easier for people to see the biases of other people when it's like fantasy because it's like just a step away. Yeah. I think this book is so important because if there is a literary crisis, the best way to combat it is to teach people how joyful it is to read. And I think this book is super joyful to read, but it's also super educational at the same time. And it's the best fantasy book that I could find that I think is A, age appropriate, B, informative, and C, fun to read and enjoyable. And I think that in all of my classes, in all of the times growing up, I wished that people would allow fun reads to be a part of it, because I think that if there is a literary crisis, the best way to combat that is to teach people how fun it is to read and how enjoyable it can be, because then you're going to naturally want to pick up books. And in those books, you will find all the life lessons you need to know.
Yes.
And if you build the cadence and you build the muscle of reading, picking up a book later in life is going to feel so much less daunting. And there are so many people that I talk to, so many people that I've influenced to read, so many people that I've given books to, and they were like, I didn't know that reading could be so fun. I didn't think that reading could be so fun. And I think that forcing yourself to read books that you don't like it's like a form of like self-harm, and it's horrible. Don't read something that's like interesting and tantalizing to you and it's going to teach you something, because if you don't like a book, you're not going to learn anything from it. You are going to be counting down the seconds and passing time as much as you can until you get to the end. If you read a book that you really like, you're going to soak it in more and want to like draw out every single moment that you have, draw out every sentence and learn as much as you can. And I think that book, for so many reasons,
press the shutter button, but not, there you go. There you go. You're good.
I think that learning to read for fun is the most important thing ever, and learning to have a relationship with reading and feel like you can read and have fun with it and find yourself through reading is the most valuable lesson that I could teach anybody. And it also teaches you the act of reading, and beyond what you read, teaches you so much about yourself. It teaches you how to be alone, it teaches you how to combat your thoughts, it teaches you how to self-soothe. It's such a great technique, and I think more kids need to learn that reading is fun. And I think that's the best book I could require reading for fun without crossing some boundaries, because every other fun book that I have probably isn't age appropriate.
I was going to just say also, like, if I don't know if anybody remembers like having to read The Maze Runner or anything like that in school. And those books that were kind of like more dystopian-esque, very like Hunger Games-esque, people found so much more enjoyable because they didn't feel educational, even though you got so much out of them you didn't even realize. So I think there is a lot of value in a story that is masked, like a good life lesson that is masked in fun, because I know for a fact, like just from my teachers and even from my friends, that convincing a 13-year-old boy to read anything is nightmarish. And that's like a generalization. Like, I know that there are 13-year-old boys that love to read. I know that reading is not a gendered subject at all. But teaching any teenager, especially a bunch of rowdy ones, to actually go home and for homework read pages is difficult. It is just a feat. And honestly, most of the time they're lying to you if they say you did. Like, there was reading I didn't do that I should have done.
100%.
Of course.
100%.
And so I just think if you can mask it in something that is desirable,
it's, in my opinion, it equates to, I've been seeing a bunch of videos of moms and they're like sneaking vegetables into their food. Like, making you read for fun is the equivalent of sneaking vegetables into your food for reading.
Totally.
Like, it teaches you to love it, and then you're just going to want to keep reading it. It just teaches you how to be a more eloquent person. It helps your writing, which is just a valuable skill to just be a person on this world, to be able to communicate efficiently and effectively. It's just, reading is amazing. Find books that you like is the end of the lesson. And now we're going to read into a book that we think is very fun.
Book of the month time. It is the final week of Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It, which we're really freaking excited about. And we loved this book super deeply. I think that's a pretty shared opinion from both of us.
Great.
I'm pulling up my final thoughts right now to let you guys know.
I can start with my final thoughts.
Yeah, you go first while I just gather mine really quickly. I have them written down.
One of the things that I loved most about this book is that I do kind of feel like a lot of the books that we've been reading are very good for me, but very similarly, I gain a lot out of them, but I didn't like, I haven't been lost in a book in a while. Like, I haven't been really lost in a book. I mean, God of the Woods, I got lost in. The Correspondent, I got lost in. And I think that one thing that I really appreciate about this book is just how much fun it was to read it. And like the whole time, like I remember finishing the book and just being like so content with how it ended. And usually when I get to the epilogue in a coming of age book, I'm like, this is so cheesy. This one I was like, this is so
uncheesy.
It's so uncheesy. It's so perfect. I just love it. I'm so happy for Phoebe. I'm so happy for her friends. I love all of these different things that happened. Like, I was rooting for all of these characters and I was rooting for all these people, and I loved the way that unfolded. And I love Matthew. I can't say that enough. I love Matthew.
Totally. I completely agree. The only note that I wrote, which I think is funny, I haven't looked at this since I finished it, was best non-cheesy perfect ending ever. That's all I wrote. That's literally all I wrote.
There isn't really much to like
there's not
unpack.
much
Because the last section, the section that we read before this was really like the climax situation.
Yes.
So this is more just like the happy ending. I feel like we don't have to say much about it. Just this is an amazing, really fun read. It's really light. And it's a very great way it's sneaking vegetables into reading.
Yes.
By doing that and in terms of like making a book about how hard it is to be young and in your 20s without making it a book about how to be hard and in your 20s because you're not going to want to read that. It's a great way to do it.
Yeah, I just think that everybody knows that I love my literary fiction and like highbrow bullshit. Like I love it.
I said that to Sid last night. I was like, I'm so thankful that you found somebody else to talk to you about this because I certainly don't want to hear about your highbrow bullshit when it comes to music.
I'm a little pretentious.
But it's okay, and I love you because of it.
Yep. So,
no, I really do.
Wait, I know.
Okay.
God damn it, it's been a long week.
It's been a long week.
Anyway, basically, I do love my like heavy hitting reads where like I am sitting forced to face really just like a lot of different realities. I love them. Yeah, I know.
I'd rather die than do that.
But I love them. And I love a heavy book. Like I love something that like I genuinely it impacts my mood so deeply that I'm walking around like I just lived the war that happened in the book I read. Like I love that shit.
Wait, can I say something really quick?
Yeah.
There are times in Sydney and I's friendship when I'm like really confronted with the reality that like she likes men. And I'm like waiting for her to be like, whoa, like you don't like men, whatever. Because that's like how I feel. And then I feel similarly like when you're like, I love this literary fiction book. I'm waiting for you to be like, no, I don't.
You're waiting for it to be like fake, a front.
I'm waiting for it to be a front and be like, okay, like whenever you're ready, like you can be honest with me. And like you really like that. And like you really like men, which is very shocking to me.
But I like, okay.
Anyways.
Oh God. This is taking a turn. I really do love my like intense books. Like I just like love to sit around like feeling like there's a fucking paperweight in my chest because of like what I just read, and I can't explain it beyond that. You just have to believe me. And I really think it's because it's what my mom read, and my mom was a teacher, so it's like I didn't read anything fun before I started reading that, and so I think I like just experienced like fun reading like too late.
Yeah. It's like it's not a part of your like DNA.
Yes, and so the reason I liked Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose is because the reason I'm so anti-romance genre sometimes I'm just sitting there and I'm like, oh my fucking God, this is pointless. Like I am, and this is how me and Ellie talk about this, like, because Ellie really likes reality TV and I watch reality TV for the sake of me and Ellie's friendship, which is not the same thing. Because I just think it's like,
I listen to highbrow music for the sake of Sydney and I's friendship.
Yeah, and I just like I feel like reality TV just like melts your brain. Like I just don't see the point in it at all. Like I really, unless it's Love Island, that is the only one I care about.
It's a good one.
Other than that, I just don't give a fuck. And that's how I feel about romance genre novels, is that I just feel like I'm watching reality TV. Like I'm just sitting here and I'm like, other than the fact that like, oh, it comes when you're least expecting it and true love will find you and everybody's person is out there. What the fuck is the point of me reading this? Like I actually like I'm gaining nothing. And at least when I read my intense shit or literary fiction shit, you don't have to like it to be thinking about it. Like you didn't like anything that was like literary fiction that we read, but you fucking had so many thoughts about it, right? Like I had
a lot of thoughts because I have a lot of thoughts about all things that I hate.
But at least you're fucking thinking. Like I read romance and after I'm like, I don't even remember the fucking character's name. Like what was the actual point? Like that is just time wasted. And it's
time wasted in joyous, beautiful land.
But this is where I'm going at, is that I think the reason I felt that way is because I hadn't read one where I felt like I wasn't wasting time. I was actually just enjoying my time.
Okay.
And Phoebe Berman's book, actually, like the Phoebe Berman story actually made me enjoy my time reading something that is just like in some ways whimsical and nonsensical and just like light and airy. And sometimes when I read romance, like Emily Henry's an exception. When I read Emily Henry, I am floating on a cloud. I love my life. Everything is sunshine and rainbows. I'm so happy. Then there are other romance books, which I'm not judging people for reading. These are books that you loved and we've talked about. But like there were some of the like hockey romances in the Deal genre or whatever, and I just like I couldn't. I tried, and the whole time I was like, I just don't see the point. And so I think this exposed me to a genre of romance and coming of age and like reading that is not only is it for the fun of it, but it also is like purposeful in that way.
Yeah.
Because I really do want to enjoy the light and airy books. Like I don't want to only ever read like really intense stuff.
Yeah.
I think the problem is that I just had never found anything other than like Emily Henry and my few one-offs that were not only fun, but like I actually felt like I was passing my time and enjoying it. Like I wasn't just reading them for the sake of not reading something intense.
I think and when you're reading romance, you really need a plot to go alongside it. You love like a secret society. You love like dragons. You know what I mean? Like you love complex.
I like when romance is a factor in a book. I just don't like the genre. Like I love ACOTAR because ACOTAR is not a romance novel, but romance is such a huge theme in it. And I think that's why I loved this. Like this is a coming of age romance novel, but like it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think it was heavy on the coming of age part.
I think I'm going to get hated on for what I just said about the romance genre and why I don't like it.
Listen, sister, I'm going to get hated on because I don't like the literary industry. So we got both sides of things. You know what I mean? Like this is why this works because I'm the side of like,
guys, don't cancel me. I really want you to read whatever you want to read. Like, I'm not even kidding. As long as you're reading anything, I'm happy. Like,
yeah,
I don't care what it is. If you want to read fairy smut, read it. If you want to read hockey romance, read it. If you want to read, I don't know.
I think that
anything.
People get mad when they assume that there's the assumption in the literary world that literary fiction trumps romance.
It doesn't. It doesn't at all. I personally think anything you read serves a purpose because at the bare minimum, you are gaining a better vocabulary at the barest of minimums. So it all serves a purpose. And I think I just didn't. I was never the kid that was reading Hunger Games or Harry Potter or any of that stuff. And because I was never like reading children's aged books as a child, I was reading what was on my mom's Kindle. I was never exposed to like the reading for the joy of it, like for just enjoying the story. I was the same kid. This is coming from the same kid that wasn't allowed to watch Disney Channel or Nickelodeon.
Right.
Do I think that I gained more life lessons from watching National Geographic versus Nickelodeon? Absolutely not. No, I don't. Like, I do not think one is better than the other. I do not think literary fiction trumps shit. I don't think historical fiction trumps shit. It does not. They are all equal because reading in itself is the purpose.
Exactly. I think that's the only conversation that people have.
Yeah, I just want to make that clear. I'm not saying I have
very clear. I literally think that that's the only thing that people would find frustrating on either ends is that I think that romance is better than literary fiction and you think that literary fiction is better than romance, but not because you believe that literary fiction has more merit, but just because you find more joy in it. And I think that's the thing too that people have a really hard time grasping, which is also something that you learn if you read, that you're okay to have separate opinions from people and you're allowed to be confronted with those different opinions and not feel the need to change them.
Yeah, me and Ellie don't like a lot of the same thing.
I know. I'm really like sitting here after this episode. I'm like, wow, we have a lot of differences and yet
guys, we've been living together for 5 days.
It's really awesome.
This is the first time we've ever been roommates. And like, not just like, oh, she's coming to visit roommates or vice versa. Like, no, we've like been living together, like cooking every meal together. Somebody's waking somebody up. Like,
I've been feeding her cats every morning. I'm like waking her up and being like, hi, Pookie, time to rise.
No, we're like really like, yeah. Can you guys tell? What do you think? How's our relationship seem to you?
We're really like each other's crutch right now because you don't even know what's happening. You don't even know.
We did a tarot card reading before this episode, and honestly, I'm like not quite sure that set us up for success.
Well, we were like at the crystal store because we're gonna do a deep cleaning situation after this because we really gotta get this energy out.
Week so bad that combined we spent $150 at the crystal store. I was like incense, crystals, candles, chakra aligning material.
Tarot cards. So there's this like little thing at this front station where you can just pull some things and it'll give you random tarot cards. And I was like, yeah, let's do this. And then I literally look at the one person that I know has worse OCD than I. And I was like, damn, we walked out and I had a pit in my stomach and it's like, I can't stop thinking about these tarot cards. And
I said, I hear them talking behind my back.
Then we did them and it was just like, bang, bang, bang.
And you know what? Here's the thing is like, you're supposed to ask a question before you do tarot cards. I'm kind of new to the world of this. Ellie's introducing me. I'm new to the world of tarot.
Yeah.
I've been in my whimsical crystal era for a good while, yes, but like my tarot era is new. And so you're supposed to ask it a question, then flip the cards. And like,
I don't have a question other than what the fuck is going on.
Wait, and I'm not even kidding. I flip the cards and like, sometimes I'm like, okay, like if I don't like the answer, sometimes I'll be like, oh, this woo-woo shit is stupid.
What do tarot cards even know anyways?
Yeah, it's a card. But then, dead ass,
it was crazy.
Ellie looked at my cards and she literally was like, you know why I love tarot? And I was like, and she was like, because if you don't listen the first time, it just hits you with 6 more. And all of my cards were the same harsh ass. Oh my God, hi Boston. Yeah. Anyway, more of the story. I'm not quite sure that set up this episode for success, but I hope you liked it anyway.
Yeah.
Also, if you guys don't know, next week is the first week of September. If you live in any state other than California, that means it's almost fall. So yep. On October 24th, Starbucks dropped their pumpkin drinks. What do y'all think about it?
August 24th. You said October. It's okay. You know what? Fuck me for saying that. Fuck. Actually, I'm so rude for even bringing up that gripe. I take it back. That was really mean of me. I shouldn't have hit you while you're down. I shouldn't have even had the desire to hit while I am also down.
Don't throw stones from a glass castle, Ellie.
I don't got a castle right now, girl. I got a box. I got a cardboard box planted in your living room. Love it. Okay.
Anyway, basically, September 1st is coming up, which means not only are Starbucks drinks about to be pumpkin flavored,
you also on Sydney's highbrow bullshit category. You can put that right here. She hates Starbucks, but she loves pumpkin.
Yeah, but so I'm really disappointed that Starbucks pumpkin is out because none of my desired coffee shops have pumpkin out. And I just feel like I'm watching everybody enjoy something I can't enjoy because even if I get it from Starbucks, I'm not going to enjoy it.
I get that. But it's okay. It's coming soon. We're going to have so much fun with all the pumpkins and the fall things. I'm so excited.
Here's the dealio. September 1st means pumpkin in fall, and it also means new book of the month. So I know you guys are all excited for fall and what the fuck ever. You should also be excited for book of the month. So.
Book of the month this month is a book that Sydney bought me, and I already had a copy of it.
Yeah.
And so we decided this would be a great book of the month. We're going to read Bunny
by Mona Awad.
And it's all about an MFA group of girl clique. It's supposed to be funny and humorous and also a little bit dark.
It's like gothic.
Yes, very gothic, which I think is a great introduction, dive into fall. Because I think it was October, we're also going to do a little bit of a gothic situation. But if you have any recommendations for books of the month that you want to see in October and November, let us know. We're very excited. I'll put all of the breakdowns of each chapter in the description box below. And
I'll come at you with my heavy hitting highbrow opinions every week until we're done.
Don't worry. One thing about us, we're going to share our opinions.
I also just I want to explain one thing really quickly, guys. I just need to go back to this
okay, yeah,
really fast. Anyway, Bunny Mona Awad. I hope you guys got that.
If you could even know the significance of that title. It would make this week make a lot of sense.
So basically last night, me and Ellie are sitting on the couch, and I have another couch that's over there, and it's a 2-seater couch, and this one is quite a bit larger, but for whatever reason, we've been sitting on the love seat couch every night, which just getting close, And we're sitting there, and I start telling her a text that somebody sent me about something music related. And then I was oh yeah, and they said this about this artist and this thing. And she literally looks at me and she's like, honestly, thank God you have somebody else to talk to about that fucking indie ass highbrow bullshit because it's not going to be me. And keep in mind, she's wearing my band t-shirt that's an indie band. Okay. The Moss, who I hope I'm not the only person that knows the Moss. Okay, she's wearing my shirt from the Moss and she's wearing it backwards. And the back says the Moss and the front has a big ass logo on it. Or that's how she was wearing it. It's supposed to be the other way around. And then I go, also, I need to tell you something. You've been wearing that shirt backwards all day. And she looks and she goes, I don't even know what the fuck was on this shit. I don't even know what this logo is. I thought it was some more of your indie stupid ass bullshit. And I was like,
but okay,
she
was supposed to tell me that it was backwards in Trader Joe's when we were grocery shopping last night, but I had the most humbling experience at work.
No, she walks up to me in Trader Joe's and she starts laughing, and as she was walking up to me, I was about to tell her and be like, Ellie, you have that shirt on backwards, but then she was like, I did the most embarrassing thing I need to tell you about, and she told me, and I was like, well damn, now I really can't tell her shirt's on backwards because that'll just seal the deal on her day. So I waited till we were home in the privacy of our home so that she didn't feel embarrassed by it. And apparently she did because she just went cutthroat on my ass about I'm so highbrow indie BS.
No, I love I actually
God forbid I like music.
No, and it's amazing because I learned I don't have to ever look for songs. If I ever need a song, I am really confronted with the memory that I have of you posting this TikTok that went viral when we were in high school of Sex on Fire, and you were like, give me a million song recommendations like this. You are that video to me with songs where I can just be like, I really like this song. Can you give me 20 songs that are exactly like this? It's the most beautiful blessing in the world. Goodbye.
Look at this go. Anyways, that's our episode. We're back on being consistent. Hopefully we didn't jinx ourselves. We're going to sage the camera before we post this.
And the memory card and the mics and everything. And you should too, because this energy is crazy right now. I don't know what the hell is going on. Nobody does, but we're here. We're happy.
And we love you.
See you next chapter.
And God damn it, if you're down like us, we're all going to be up soon.
We have to. It's the law of averages.
Peace, love, happiness. Bunny by Mona Awad. Love you all. Goodbye.